Hey everyone, what's going on? My name is Raz and today I'm going to demonstrate how to use the Riot API with Python. And you may ask yourself why Python and not other programming languages? That's because Python is awesome for this stuff and I'm pretty sure it will prove itself later on in this guide. Alright, so first of all download Python, the latest version, but personally I use the 2.7 version. It doesn't matter, it will work with everything. Alright, so download Python 2.7 point something and above. For this, of course, go to the main Python site, just write Python on Google and you'll get to this site. Then you can write downloads, all releases or something, and yeah, 2.7.9, that's what I'm using. Because it has more modules and it's more versatile currently, so choose. After you download Python, you will need to download pip. Pip is a great tool that helps us to install modules to our source code. This is the main page. Just write pip python on Google or python pip and click on the first result, then go to installation. Installation is right here if you didn't see. Alright. It has a great guide how to install pip, but actually you have to download getpip.py and afterwards go to your CMD if you are on Linux, to your console or terminal, and then you'll have to run Python and get pip.py. This will install pip on your computer, alright, and initialize it. Afterwards you should try to write just pip. It will take some time, or it won't take any time, and then you should see all the help page of pip. If you see this, it generally says that you installed this correctly. After you get pip, we want to install the module requests. Alright, requests is a great module, a very popular one, that helps us to get HTTP pages. It makes HTTP connections very easy, as you can see right here. It's a great module. You do not have to use it for this guide, of course, but I will use it because, again, it makes everything much easier. So all you have to do is go pip install requests, right? Like I wrote right here. By the way, I'm pretty sure you have an installation guide over here. Yeah. Again, pip install requests. You can also use easy install requests, but it is not recommended. Just download pip and use it with pip. You can also upgrade the module when it has any updates. So yeah, use pip. After you install the requests, the module requests, we are good to go. So open your favorite Python IDE. I chose the default one, idle, which you get with Python when you download it. If you really like Python, you can go with PyCharm, which is also awesome. I think the most popular one. Yeah, but I'm going with the default one just so I won't confuse with anything. But yeah, PyCharm is also great. Yeah, so this is idle, the default one, and I made beforehand the constants we are going to use. So yeah, you should know basic Python language concepts, like this is a dictionary, alright, and this is a constant because it is capitalized and whatever, and the file is called riotconsts. So let me explain a little bit about everything. This is the URLs we're going to use, and I will explain about URLs later. This is the API versions we're going to use, and this is the regions we might or might not use. Of course, you can add more regions, more API versions, and more URLs. Now you may ask yourself, where do I get all this information from? So just write Riot API in Google, then go to the first result you get. Log in with your account. I'm pretty sure I'm logged in already. Yes. And go down. You're going to see my API key, but I am going to change it after this video, so do not run and try to use it. So yeah, right here you can see your API key and the rate limit. This is a developer rate limit, which will go up after you register an app, but currently I do not have any apps registered. And then you have a lot of information right here. First of all, you got the API documentation. We can see the full API reference, the getting started. We'll go over everything. This is the API reference. We can see the versions of every API, the challenge API, the champion API, the current game API, and furthermore. So if you go to show and hide, we can see all the URLs, all the API requests we can get from this specific API section. We can go to list operations, to expand operations, and then see all the return codes from the HTTP that we want refer. I won't talk about status codes. And then we can have a demonstration for the path parameters. So if we go to the most basic thing, we'll go for hide and then go for summoner, expand operations, then go to API lol region v1.4 summoner by name, summoner names, go down, choose EUNE and go for Raznik, which is my summoner name, and then execute request. We can see that this is the request code, request URL with my API key, and this is the response body. We can see it is returned as a JSON structure. Alright, we can see the name, we can see the keys and the values, and we get also my ID, so we can now use the ID for some awesome stuff. But this doesn't help us because we want to do it from the code, so we can use this for our applications, right? So that's great. Now let's hide everything, and we can see if we only show if we only show the URLs, if we open this window, that summoner by name is v, right here, v, as you can see, right here, v, the version, then the rest of the URL, which is this, and then the summoner names. It gets multiple summoner names, but we will work only with one, because it makes everything easier. But if you are more professional with Python, so you can use multiple summoner names to join them with the join commands and commas and whatever. So you can see right here, this is the URL, and this is the starting URL for every API request. You can see that /API /lol /region is in common with every API request we have right here. Right, /API /lol /region, and then version and the API request we are willing to get. Alright, so this is not the correct window. Afterwards, we have to kind of initialize all the API versions we are willing to use. We will use only the summoner one, and it is 1.4, as we can see right here. Summoner is 1.4, and it is very easy to update afterwards if the summoner API is updated, because we just change this value and not the values in all of our code. And the regions we are willing to use. Of course, you can see all the regions. You got game constants, and you get a lot of static data and response codes. You got everything. Maybe it's in regional endpoints, I'm not sure. Yeah, you can see that Brazil is BR, Europe, Nordic and East is UNE, Europe West is EUW, Korea is KR, I think it's Latin America North, Latin America South, I'm pretty sure, North America, Oceania, or however you pronounce it, I have no idea, Turkey, which is also the food, right? Russia, PBE, Global, and yeah, so forth. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said that right. Global is for the static data is a global service, so yeah, if you use static data, which is something else that I might explain about, so you do not refer to a specific server, you refer to a general database, whatever. So yeah, let's get started. So yeah, we got the game constants right here, so we will open a new file, and we will save it as Riot API.py, of course, for Python. Alright, so this is the Riot API. What we're going to do first is import Riot consts, which is this file, and because it is in the same folder, we can import it as consts. It means that we can refer this Riot consts as consts. Afterwards, we will declare a new class which is called Riot API, which will inherit from objects, which means that it inherits from nothing. Then we will define an init method, which is like a constructor from other languages, which will take self, which is an instance of this specific object. it will take an API key, and it will take a region which will be firstly initialized to consts dot regions, right? We called it regions, yeah, and it will be initialized to this thing. It means that if we do not enter a region while we call initialize, it will be automatically initialized to Europe, Nordic and East, which is EUNE. Alright? Again, you should know basic Python. You can learn it like in 10 minutes. It is very easy. Then we will initialize everything. So self.API key will be equal to API key, and self.region will be equal to region. And now we got everything we need. The first basic method we're going to use is def underscore, because it is a private method, request. This will be our let's call it most basic request. It will get self, which is again an instance of this specific object, an API URL, which is this thing, and be sure to write it correctly, which is this thing. This is const, right? This is constant for every URL we are going to request, and this is we might have, let's say, stats, right, and another URL, alright? So this is changing. An API URL and a region, alright? But the region, sorry, we're not going to get a region, we're going to get a params, which is a short way to say parameters, right? And it will be initialized to an empty dictionary. If we do not specify parameters, it will specify them to nothing. Then inside the method we will define a new variable named args, which is equal to API key and self.API key. It means that to our HTTP request we're going to add the API key as a parameter, right? As you can see right here, I think, yeah, I can show you that. If we execute request, this is the HTTP, right? This is the HTTP URL, and these are the parameters for the HTTP request, if you ever had some history with HTTP. So we got the question mark, which declares, okay, everything after this thing is a parameter, and then we got the key, which is API key, and the value, which is my API key value, and we got the equals sign. And if you have more parameters, it will separate them with asterisk, I think it's called, this thing, not sure how it's called, this thing, as you can see right here that I'm writing. So yeah, it will separate them with this sign. Then after we defined our args, we are going to copy all the parameters, if we supplied any, to our args. So for key, comma, value in yeah, params, which is parameters dot items, it means that we are going to unpack this dictionary to key and value for every item in the dictionary. Then if key not in, be sure to write key correctly, not in args. If this key does not exist in args, it means we want to add it. So args at key equals value. Great. And after we added all the parameters, we want to make the request. So the response from the request, right? Response, yeah, write it correctly, equals requests. Now, what is requests? We will need to import it, of course. This is the module that we installed, import requests dot get, which means it is a get method from the HTTP. And then we will go down the line, and we want consts. Remember, we imported Riot consts as consts. Alright, dot URL at base, right? Don't know why I copied and pasted it. It's like 4 letters. dot format, right? Yeah, dot format. We're going to format it. And what it means to format a string, I will show you in a moment. As you can see right here, we got like variables inside the string. So when we format a string, we can replace those variables with whatever we want to replace them with. So dot format, and then we want to do the following. Proxy, which is the proxy server we are referring, equals self.region. Alright? Afterwards, we want to do region equals self dot. By the way, do not use spaces. This is like a convention. Dot region, and afterwards the URL equals API URL. Alright, so this is replaced with region. It might be replaced with global if you use static data. But we do not use static data currently. This is with region, and this is with the API URL, which means that if we call this request with summoner by name, so this replaces that, and this is our HTTP call. Alright? I think it makes everything more clear. Alright, so let's close this one and let's close this one. Right? Am I correct? No. Afterwards, we need to add parameters, right, to our HTTP request. So params equals args, right? Yeah, but again, do not use spaces by convention. And then close everything. Right, yes. And then we want to return response.json. Now, two bad things we've done here. No, actually one bad thing, as I might recall. We have not checked anything related to the return codes from the HTTP, which means that if an error has occurred, we won't know about it, and that's bad. But this is the most basic Riot API we're ever going to use, and this is just for you to understand, so we are not going to check for any status codes. And let me explain a little bit about this method. It takes the response, like this is a response. We get this as a string, and it actually parses the string to a dictionary, and it's making if it is a JSON string, let's call it with, I don't know, we might guess it is a JSON string because it always returns the JSON string from this API specifically. So it parses this string to be a dictionary, and it's very easy to use afterwards. When something is a dictionary, it is very, very easy to use. So let's go back to our Riot API, and we got a basic request. Alright, so let's define def, and we will call it, let me just turn my page, or flip my page, yeah, get summoner by name. Alright, and it will get self, which is again an instance of this specific object, and a name. And we will format an API URL, right? It equals consts dot URL at this thing, right? Summoner by name. And actually, just so it will be easier for you, let's print here the response.url. So you will see response. Yeah, I always think that I write it not correct. Okay. Dot format, and then we will format something for you. Version, which is this thing right here. Alright, it equals consts dot API versions at summoner, right? Yeah, at summoner, which is 1.4 as a string. Afterwards, what do we need to add? The names, right? So names equals to name. Again, you can add multiple names, but we will work only with one name. Then close everything, and then return self dot request at API URL. And we're not going to supply any parameters because we don't need to. And that's all for the Riot API. Let's save it, open a new file, and let's save it as, I don't know, main. And general knowledge, you should add the following lines to every main. If name equals main, so main, and then home def main. Alright, this means that we run this specific file as a file, not as a module. Just add it. It's like a secure lock or something. So yeah, we wanna do from Riot API, which is the file, import Riot API, which is the class itself. So we want to do the following: API equals Riot API, and then we need to supply two things, so actually one, because we are going to use Europe, Nordic and East. We need to supply an API key. So just do the following: go to your dashboard, copy this, which will be changed, so don't try to use mine. Go to not.const, actually save it, because I see that we haven't saved it, and paste it. Alright, afterwards we want to do this thing. Let's call it R for response equals API.gets. No, it won't complete me, which is very sad. Yeah, getSounder by name I called it. That's why you should use PyCharm, but yeah, getSounder by name, and we will use Raznik, which is my summoner name for Europe, Nordic and East, and then let's print R, and hopefully it will work. Alright, let's save it, F5 to run it, and invalid syntax, getSounder by name. Why it is an invalid syntax? Because we haven't used a comma right here. And then we will run it again, hopefully it will work. Main F5. I just wrote everything, and yeah, okay, we got it. Right, so we can see two things printed here. First of all, may I just use the... oh, that's great. We first see the URL that we used. So we can see the base URL, which is this, until here, and then the API URL that we added, which is this, with our API key. Alright, and then the response. We can see it's a dictionary. If we use the following, print type of R, and we will run it again. Yes. We can see it's a dictionary. It's not a string, it's a dictionary, which is very important. Why? We can see right here that we have a key named Raznik, right? And inside it we can see another dictionary. So we can actually use it for R. First, if we use R at Raznik, right, and we run it again, just to show you the strength of a dictionary, we get all the information about Raznik. And then we can go for at Raznik at ID, right? And then if you run it again, and wait for the response, and so we get our ID. And when you get your ID, you can do multiple stuff. If we go to the documentation and hide this and go, let's say, for match history, expand operations, we can see that we can get a match history of a player only with its ID. Alright, we cannot get a match history of a player with its name. So we first need to get its ID, and then we can get the match history or the league data or everything else. So that's how you work with the Riot API, right? Let's go about like on everything. How long are we into the video? 24 minutes. That's not that long. That's what she said. So first we define some constants. After, of course, we installed Python and pip and requests. We define some constants, alright, with all the URLs we want to use. Then we can use the API versions we want to use. We need to declare them, and then the regions we want to use. Afterwards, we go to the Riot API and define the requests we are willing to use. So this is our base request, and these are the further requests that expand it or extend it. Yeah. So yeah, we got the summoner by name, the specific request we're willing to use, and yeah, everything here. And of course we got the main, our main class or main method or main program that calls the API, then uses it, and then we can do whatever we want with the statistics and data that we get. Now I want to refer you to Riot, let's say Riot API public libraries, right? Yeah. And right here you can see for every programming language, let's go specifically for Python, for Riot Watcher, let's say. I understand where I'm going. And then we can see a library, or actually a module, kind of. Yeah, it is a module named Riot Watcher. And then that actually implements all we did here for every API reference or for every API that Riot has. So if we go to its source code, so you can see that it implemented everything for everything. So if you need everything for everything, you can definitely use a public library that someone posted, and of course give him credit or something. This is created by PSEUDONYM117. Go to his GitHub and say hello. But yeah, I prefer to implement these by myself, because then I can implement the API itself for better use to my needs and not to general and generic needs. But that's your I don't know, that's your decision. And by the way, you should first know how this thing works before you actually implement something that big. So yeah, you got everything, I think, for every popular language. Just to show you how let's go for Java, for instance. Python was like one giant class, and if we go to the source of Java, and we got like, I don't know, whoops, tons of classes just to implement, right, single, I don't know, API. Yeah, this is crazy. You do not use Java for these things, right? You just don't. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, you can leave them below. And by the way, if you want more guides on more advanced Riot API programming, I'm here, so just go for it. And I will see you guys later. So have a nice day.